Okay, do you remember your first car? Most of you probably do. It might have been a hand-me-down from family, or maybe something inexpensive from a used car lot. If your parents were well off, they might have bought you a car, or like most of us, paid for one with our own money by working extra hours or taking on a new job. In many cases, however, buying a car means a trip to a dealership, which can be an experience in itself. William will tell us tonight about his trip to a dealership, and his experiences with car dealerships. Please welcome William McCombie as he gives his presentation, Leaving the Car Dealership on My Bicycle.
Thank you, Marjane. So you might not be aware that I did not get my license until I was 26. I was told growing up, oh, you'll never be able to drive it. Ultimately, I proved them wrong. And so I got my license. And when you have your license, what do? You need to get a car. So I hopped on my bike, started pedaling, made way to the dealerships on Main Street. And first off, I stopped at the Hyundai dealership because my parents had Hyundai cars and they liked them. And right as I rolled into the dealership, the salesman put out a cigarette and greeted me. I told him, I want something that's really basic. It doesn't have to be fancy. It needs to get good fuel mileage, but that's most important. It needs to have engines, wheels, and air conditioning because this is Florida. And he led me to a 2005 white Hyundai Accent. It took a drive around the block. Okay, this car's all right. And that was it. I was sold. I'll buy the car. And I bought the car. Now, this little Accent served me pretty well in the several years that I owned it. But as you know, sometimes good things can come to an end. After I'd finished off the last loan payment on the car and I was getting ready to make a long trip with a friend to go up north to visit some theme parks, the unthinkable happened. The check engine light turned on and I made the mistake of taking it back to the dealership to get their mechanic to look on it, to look at it. And as I said, that was a big mistake because when I got back from the mechanic, it didn't accelerate properly. And I went back for more abuse. The mechanic, instead of fixing it, now they had somehow broken the transmission. And the transmission is a very, very, very expensive repair to make on a car. And considering the value of the car, I decided, all right, fine, that's a loss. I'll just buy a new car. And I went over to the dealership side of the complex to the sales department. And many of you have probably been to a dealership and you know what it's like. They might have some big comfy couches you can sploosh on while waiting for the dealer or the salesperson to talk to his manager to get you a special deal on something if you were to drive this car home tonight. And all these different deals. And the salesman talked to me and he said, I'll give you $3,000 if you trade in your broken down Accent and go for a shiny new Sonata hybrid. Sure, it's a nice car, but I went home, thought about, I was like, okay, the Sonata is probably a bit expensive for what I want, and it's more car than I really need. Maybe I should go with something more economical, like an Elantra. Went to the dealership's website, and they had a listing of Elantras, and I picked out one that I like, okay, I like this blue one. It's got a sunroof, it's got all the features I want. And I went to the bank, got some financing, got a loan approved. All right, I'm going to go in that day. I'm going to buy this blue Elantra and drive it home. That didn't happen. You see, the dealership had apparently already sold the blue Elantra. So, all right, fine. I'll get a silver one instead. The silver one's okay. It doesn't have all the features that the blue one has, but at least it has some of the features I want. And I took a test drive of it, and sure enough, okay, this car's all right. And now we've got down to negotiations. Now, one thing that car dealerships do, they play games, whether you want to play them or not. And for whatever reason, they decided that, okay, my broken down accent, if I buy the Sonata, it's worth $3,000. But if I buy the Elantra, it's only worth $500. I don't get it. I'm not sure if I want to play these games. And I've thought to myself, do I even need a car? I've got a bicycle. I can ride it everywhere, as I already do. I ride my bike to work. I ride it to Publix. I ride Fencer. If I need to go somewhere further, I could get an Uber. If I need to go to a Toastmasters conference, maybe I can carpool with Koki or maybe something like that. But I said, okay, I walked out. And the salesperson said, oh, wait, no, don't go. I'll give you $1,000 for your trade-in. But it was too late. I hopped on my bike, drove back home, and I went car-free for nearly 6 years. At least I thought I was car-free, because every once in a while I get that phone call telling me about my car's extended warranty. I'm sure you all know what I'm talking about. But several years into being car-free, I realized, I'm making a bit more money now. I can afford a car, and I live a bit further away from town, so a car might be more practical. And there are lots more options now for cars, because not only do you have conventional cars, electric cars are now a big thing. And I decided I want to go with something electric, because electric cars are the future. They don't pollute as much. They don't cost as much to maintain. You don't have to fill them with gas. And if you charge at home, it's much cheaper. So overall, electric cars seemed like the right idea. I looked at all these options for electric cars. Volkswagen had the ID4. I went to the Volkswagen dealership, and they had one on display, but I couldn't really test drive it. But it just didn't seem to have the features I want. Ford had the Mustang Mach-E, which sounds good on paper, but they didn't have any in stock. And my third option, which turned out the way I wanted to move ahead, was the Ioniq 5 also from Hyundai. I went to the dealership, this time a different dealership, because I didn't want to go to one that broke my car every time I took it in for repairs. And I took a test drive of the Ioniq 5. And the Ioniq 5, it was a nice car. It was very spacious. I'd even put down a deposit for it, just because I really liked it so much. And I'd even done my research on the dealer's website. They had the Ioniq 5 in stock, ready to sell, but the price on their website and the price that the dealer quoted, not the same thing. Over 10 grand difference. I said, okay, I've had enough. I'm done with dealerships. I'm going for the next option. And that is how I went with a Tesla. Because as crazy as Elon Musk has come in recent years with this whole Twitter mess, at least with Tesla, the cars are sold up front and you don't have to deal with the middleman. And plus, the Hyundai Ioniq 5, as nice as it is, I can't make it fart on command like I can with the Tesla. Thank you.
Thank you very much, William. That was very good. What experiences you've had. And that's just incredible. We will now move on to the evaluation portion of the meeting for this speech. And I will turn control over to Rajiv Wadhwa. Rajiv, take it away.
Thank you, Charlotte. As I'm doing this role for the first time, now I'm realizing my real job is to make sure that people don't get opportunity to split and engage as many people as I can. So for William's speech, I'm going to first invite Gail Smith and Angela to give us points of praise. So Gail, take it away.
So you don't want us to salute. Well, I tell you, William, thank you for not allowing me to speak while you gave that fun presentation. And the reason I say you didn't give me a chance to speak, because I was so relating to your stories. I too am a recent victim. I mean, new owner of a new used automobile. And so I was so engrossed with your stories, just did not have time to sleep and relax and cool off. Instead, I mean, I was perspiring like crazy listening to your experience. Thank you not for the re-experience of that.
Thank you, Gail. Now I'm going to invite our area director, A53 area director, Angela.
William, I was like cheering you on through your whole speech. I was like, oh God, I hope he finds him a nice car, because you traveled a long ways just to come to this weekend meeting with us. The funniest thing though was when you said extended warranty. I mean, that really got me, because how many times do we get bothered by extended warranty cars? And here you didn't even have really an automobile. Well, it's kind of broken down. One to really have an extended warranty on. So I appreciate the journey. You took us on a journey and I followed you the whole way. And I was like, come on, you got a car. You're going to get a car. You're going to get a car. So I'm glad to see you got a Tesla.
Thanks, Angela. Now I'm going to invite two people, Melanie and Terry Wells, to give us points of improvement. First up, Melanie.
Thank you, Rajiv. And thank you, William, for a wonderful speech. Loved all the stories. I was just thinking how you could make it funny. And I think two things from Joan's speech earlier. Could you give your cars names? Could the accent be Ellis, the accent, and the Elantra be, I don't know, some funny name? And I think you talked about the money bit, and that part I missed a little bit. And I think there was a joke in it. So maybe if you paused longer so I could absorb that information, it would have been even funnier. Thank you, William.
Thank you, Melanie.
William.
And, yeah.
Okay. So I'm up. So William, I happened to see you hold up some money there, or it looked like that. That would have been sort of a cool thing to do at appropriate points during your speech, when you're bringing up the issue of repairs cost a lot, and the costs of the car and difference in price, how say, yeah, my vehicle was worth, and have a fan of bills or my trade-in, and then if I bought that car, but otherwise it was only worth, I bought the other one. You know, some use of props, and maybe bring in just a little more of an emotional punch there in your voice. Otherwise, really great. I enjoyed the journey, and I'm glad you got your car.
Thank you, Terry. Now I'm going to invite Sandy and Kennedy to give points of praise. First up, Sandy.
Well, William, thank you for that story. It really hit home. I've been to the Hyundai dealership. I know exactly what you went through, and I wanted to take the bike out of there myself. So good job in conveying a picture for us, because that made it work. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandy. Now may I invite Kennedy to give another points of praise.
Yes, William, I'm going to go against and exaggerate a little bit, since that's our education headliner wants us to do. First of all, I'd like to commend you about this process everybody can relate with. You gave a lot of details that brought us back to the occasion, but I would suggest that you combine that with bringing us to that moment and say, have you ever stopped and realized this guy is playing games with me? From one auto to another, the difference is 10,000 just to look at their website and to talk to the dealer. Stop, pause, ask questions of your audience and tell them, have you felt that? That can be your emotional impact. The second thing is, I love how you go through the different cars, but at the same time, ask your audience that same question. Have you looked at Hyundai? Raise your hand. Have you looked at Ford? Raise your hand. Have you looked at Chevy? Raise your hand. And finally, who here has looked at Tesla? Let's form a club. For your emotional impact, William McCombie.
Thank
Ask
you, everyone.
questions in 7 minutes.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. I'll hand back to Charlotte.